Okay, everybody can see that? Okay, so I'm actually going to start off with all of the resources that are available. Of course, we have our NDE statewide assessment website here. That's our main page, but under that is certain documents that are very helpful when you're reviewing your roster. The first one is the NSCAS roster review process, and that is actually in the link that I posted in chat. There's also the EL status guidance, which basically is a crosswalk to help you determine the EL status on the NSCAS growth file, which is a 1 through 4. And then we have the not tested code guidelines. I added that just because, I mean, you don't need it right now unless you're winter testing. You can use this as a guidance to help you determine which not tested codes to add to the NSCAS growth system if you're winter testing right now. And then I also included the test windows. That's always helpful. I print that out and put it right next to my screen and refer to it probably on a daily basis. Then I also included the advisor resources website. This includes the Who Reports What and the systems involved student reporting. Those, I probably use those on a daily basis as well. So to help determine what students you're responsible for testing and the coding to be used. And then here at the bottom are the actual test sites, you know, the ALPA resource, or actually ALPA 21 resources, ACT testing webpage, it's specifically for Nebraska. Then the NWEA Nebraska portal and DRC. Now, for DRC, Insight is the actual testing system, and all of their resources are within the testing system. So you will need a login to access the DRC's Insight if you don't already. So to actually review the rosters within Advisor. So what we're doing now is we're just taking a pre-test look at, you know, do we have the right students? Do we, you know, are they listed under the right roster, etc. And so what's going to happen is on January 9th, we will pull a roster for DRC for the NSCAS alternate, and we will pull a roster for the ACT. And those will be sent to the appropriate vendor, and those rosters will be uploaded into the test systems. So for the alternate and the ACT, it's a one-time load. We will not be sending any other files other than this one in January. NSCAS growth is a different story, since that is now we test 3 times a year. That report, you know, and we've actually changed things around to now the districts have to upload their own rosters to NSCAS, to MAP actually. But we will continue to send NWEA a state roster just to run comparisons, just to see if our data at the state level is matching the district data. So to pull the reports, you will want to log into Advisor Validation. This screen is actually for the ALPA 21. Under verification reports, you'll click on students, and under the English Learners tab, you'll click on the English language testing, and that will bring up your ALPA 21 roster. In the same location under students of verification reports, you can click on the assessment tab, and that is where you will find the NSCAS ACT alternate roster, which should be at the very top, and the NSCAS growth roster, which is at the very bottom. Now, there is a little trick with the NSCAS ACT alternate roster. When you click on it, it will ask you, do you want to see the ACT or do you want to see the alternate? And you click which one you want to look at. And once it's opened, you can click on the print icon and you can download I'd suggest a CSV file or an Excel file, and that way you can sort it and play with it and dig into your data to make sure everything is accurate. These are the key data elements that you'll see on the roster files. Your reporting school, your enrolled school, grade level, which assessment they're assigned to, whether it's alternate, ACT, or growth, student name and ID, date of birth, SPED, meaning do they or do they not have an IEP on file, their primary disability, their EL status, and then also you will see a lock date. Now, with the ACT and the alternate roster, we will lock that data in and around January 9th, and then it will become a historical file, and it will represent all of the records that we send to the vendor on that initial roster file. NSCAS growth, on the other hand, will stay live, and it will always be a live report. So some of the data requirements for the 3 assessments that you want to make sure are accurate. Just a reminder that we only test students who have a full-time equivalency of 51% or higher. And you want to look at the school of record and school of attendance, make sure those are accurate, especially for the NSCAS growth. And for the NSCAS growth in general science this spring, we're getting the TB test in grades 3 through 8. And you want to make sure the alternate assessment field is coded as no within the student's SPED record in Advisor. On the other hand, for alternate students, you want to make sure it says yes in the SPED record. And then for ACT and for the alternate assessment, I want to stress that we are expecting to test the high school cohort of 2024. We do not pull grade level. So this could be your seniors who are accelerating their graduation date, or it could be the students who came in and taken a little longer to earn their credits. Grade level doesn't make a difference. It's 2024 cohort. So you may have some sophomores, you may have some seniors that are expected to test. A couple of other student populations that districts seem to sometimes forget to look at are your homeschooled students. You can look at your district's exempt schools report and see if your students have been submitted or pending status. At that point, you can adjust your students' enrollment in Advisor, and that way they won't get pulled into your roster files. And I also want to touch base on the external program students. These are your students that are attending your Rule 18, your ESU schools, any contracted service agencies. You are, as a district, still responsible to ensure that these students are tested. And it is your response, the DAC or your team members, it's your responsibility to reach out to those external programs and make arrangements to make sure, whatever's best for the student, on where and how they should be tested. Now, a lot of these external programs are really good about assisting us in getting those students tested. Most of them are already set up to test and are willing to administer the test on behalf of the district, but you just want to make sure, I would touch base with them and make sure that everything's in order. And if you need any assistance or if you need contacts to any of these external programs, please reach out to me and I'll give you the right person to reach out to. So after the January 9th deadline, if you do have any student movement, withdrawals or new students coming in, you will need to adjust advisor validation, publish that new data, but at the same, you will also need to update the testing system, in which the appropriate testing system for each of the NSCAS tests. So if you have a new student coming in, a new 2024 cohort, and you may need to add them to PA Next at the same time that you publish the data into advisor validation. And same with NSCAS growth. Again, it's the district's responsibility to upload their rosters. We are no longer going to use a state roster file. So it is very important that those students get rostered into NSCAS growth. And if you have any trouble with mobility on your NSCAS growth kids, again, don't hesitate to email me. I will do my best to help you make sure that the kids get transferred in the system if they need to be. And it's a pretty easy step for me, so I have no problem helping you guys out. And then these are some key contacts. If you have ACT specific questions, Iris Owens is our guru, and she's very, very good at her job. So Iris would be the first person to reach out to if you have any ACT questions. Allison Dembesti is our ELPA 21. And then I'm your alternate in your NSCAS growth. I won't call myself a guru, but I'm learning. And then I also have added the statewide general inquiry. If you want to email, if you're not quite sure who to ask, you can email it to this, and Stacy will be able to forward it to the appropriate folks. And that's it in a nutshell. So before you guys get started on your actual work day, do you have any questions?